Good morning, Knicks Nation. Today is Wednesday. It is the 15th day of June 2023. We have 8 days until the NBA draft. Big night for the New York Knicks on June 23rd, a week from now, a week and a day from now. Blessings upon those that are working today in the healthcare field and those that are the first responders trying to save lives. Also, blessings upon you and your family. Hope everybody is healthy. I hope everybody is safe in your family today, and that the needs of you and your family in terms of food, shelter, clothing, as well as health are being met. Blessings upon those that work in the healthcare field, trying to save lives every day, along with the first responders, as I mentioned earlier. Blessings upon those that pick up garbage to keep streets and sidewalks, highways, and parks clean, and those that make deliveries for our convenience. Double blessings on the men and women trying their best to recover and rescue the children who are the victims of child molestation and pedophilia, the victims of prostitution and child prostitution, the victims of pornography, child pornography, sex slavery, and human trafficking, and double curses on the perpetrators, the perverts, and the profiteers who traffic in this human misery. Finally, blessings upon the homeless. Nearly 600,000 men, women, and children in the United States of America today without a roof over their head, and millions around the world in similar or worse conditions, and blessings upon them, for theirs is the kingdom. As I mentioned, next week is a big night for the New York Knicks. Big night in a couple of ways. We've been talking all year, and especially it now starts. One of the things as Knicks Nation we need to know is what the game plan is going forward for the Knicks. If you've been a Knicks fan for a length of time, as I have, 30, 40, 50 years, part of our problem has been in terms of being incompetent, in terms of never being able to contend, has been a front offices or several front offices that have had no clear direction. And there's also been disconnects between the owner, the front offices, and the coaching staff and the players. Disconnects, bad management, lack of direction is what has caused the Knicks to be a futile franchise since winning the championship in 73 and since going to the NBA Finals in 99, 2000, and then the playoff runs we had in the late 90s, mid 90s, early 2000s, during the 90s and the early 2000s. For the last 20 years, those things have afflicted the New York Knicks. Bad front office is the main thing. Many of you guys, because you're just casual fans, and that's fine. NBA is entertainment, and hopefully you're getting entertained by the NBA. But because many fans are casual, they don't understand. Great basketball teams start with great front offices. Great front offices have included the president of basketball operations, the general manager, the capologist, which is important today, the head of scouting and the scouting team. Okay. Then you go to your coaching staff, your head coach, his assistant coaches. That's what starts a great organization, and they have to be tied together on the same page. You need an owner that allows that to happen. Okay. You need all of that combination to create a great organization in the NBA. And the ones that you see consistently in the playoffs, consistently rebuilding successfully and coming back, have those things in common. They have a front office they have an owner that allows the front office to do its job. They have an extremely competent front office put together generally by the president of basketball operations. They have a connection to the coaching staff and the head coach, and they have a line of communication that is clear. The directive is clear. Everybody's on the same page. And then they pick players based on the competence of the front office with the scouting and the coaching staff that fit into a system that they have predetermined that they're going to have. Okay. All of that creates great organization, and it ends up being a great product on the basketball floor. And the great organizations have those things in common. Now, With the Knicks, we have not had that. It started, though, the premise of it started, the seedling started when James Dolan decided to become hands-off with the basketball team. He had been very involved, but not knowing what he was doing. Okay, very powerful because he had the deep pockets. He signed in the checks. So nobody could question what he wanted to do. But because he had no idea what he was doing, he was hurting his organization. And thank the Most High, he was wise enough to understand that and then back off and put it in somebody's hands that may know what they're doing. First, he tried it with Phil Jackson. That didn't work out. And now he's went to Leon Rose. And so far, I give Leon Rose the highest marks in terms of the history of the Knicks, in terms of the previous people that have been in that position, as we have seen over the last 20 years. He has at least shown a game plan, an acumen, a draft acumen, putting together a more than competent team and hiring the Walt Perrins, the Brock Allers, and then working with a Scott Perry, and then putting together. Now, many people will, and see, this is the thing, because the Knicks have been so bad, many of you are more ready to criticize and look for negatives than to understand the positives that are going on. I'm looking at it as a model from the Spurs or from the Miami Heat or from the Boston Celtics or from the Milwaukee Bucks. Models that have worked to win championships. Models that bring consistent success in winning programs. Okay. When you see those models and you look at the Knicks, you understand that you got the seedling of that already started. Now, because it's New York, because it's the New York Knicks, you're going to always have a large segment of media that is using that organization to make money. I mean, and generally speaking, people like to talk about negatives more than positives. So when you could dump on a team like the Knicks, you will get millions of people from Knicks Nation responding to you. Therefore, you put ads in your stuff and you can make money like your ESPNs with your Stephen A. Smiths that really just runs off at the mouth and gets loud on a big platform. And people will pay, advertisers will pay for that platform because when he talks about the Knicks, people are watching. And that's what a lot of these people in media do. They come up with the most ridiculous trades. And they know they're ridiculous when they write it because they're looking for a reaction. Okay? But when you understand that, then you know most of these people you can't pay attention to. But see, again, unfortunately, because there's a large younger contingent of Knicks fans that will just bite at that stuff real quick, especially on social media. But when you understand long-term sustainable winning, you'll see the hallmarks of what that represents. And it has started with Leon Rose 2 seasons ago. Okay. And it started with Dolan when you hired Phil Jackson. It wasn't a successful hire, but what he was attempting to do is where he is now. Be hands-on, be hands-off, be behind the scenes, let the professionals do what they do who know basketball, especially professional basketball. And that's what he's been doing. So now, because of the media presence, because of the tendency to over-exaggerate negatively the Knicks, Leon Rose has chosen, and I think wisely so, to be behind the scenes and not let the media into his inner sanctum. Don't let the media types and their frustrations, Knick Nation, get to you. They're going to whine about that because they're looking for headlines. Understand that. They're not looking to get you accurate information. They're looking to get you reactionary information. And if you understand that, then you understand why Leon Rose has decided, I'm not letting y'all in my inner sanctum. I'm going to talk to Knicks organization people that's at MSG. And I'm going to let them convey to you. I might leak out stuff if I want to through scouts or through my intermediaries like a World Wide West. I might leak out stuff that I want you to know. Otherwise, I'm not telling you because it will be a distraction to what he's trying to do. So therefore, how do you know what they're doing? What is the game plan? Well, it's hard to decipher, admittedly, but you have to see mostly, and this is a basic life concept, you will learn more from a person about how they're about, what they're about by what they do more than what they say. So what has Leon Rose done since he's become president of basketball operations 2 years ago in the spring of 2020? What has he done? He kept Scott Perry on as the GM, which is questionable, but that's what he did. He has hired one of the top talent evaluators in the NBA, Walt Perrin. He has hired one of the top capologists from the Cleveland Cavaliers when they won championship in Brock Aller. Okay? That's what he did. He hired Tom Thibodeau because he knew him. Now, that could be a mistake, but I understand he needs people around him in the biggest market, in the biggest job in the NBA that he's comfortable with. So he chose Tom Thibodeau, and that has its pluses and minuses, as we very well know, and that could also change in this coming season. Okay? And that change is really on Tom Thibodeau. If he doesn't adjust to what I'm getting ready to tell you, what you can see what's going on, he's going to be out. Because Leon intends on making New York a long-term sustainable winner. He's shown that by the people he's bringing on board. Okay? And look, he had brought on Kenny Payne, Johnny Bryant, Mike Woodson. He didn't ask Thibodeau about that. He brought them on because why? They're genius coaches. Thibodeau didn't take advantage of them the way he should have. And so Payne ended up taking his, dream job as head of Louisville. Woodson ended up taking his dream job at his alma mater, University of Indiana. And Johnny Bryant is now interviewing for his dream job as the coach of the Utah Jazz. It may or may not happen, but that's what goes on when you got a lot of talented staff. Then he goes and he hires Rick Brunson because that's one of Tom's guys. Okay? And so I can see what's going on. What he's doing now is he's doing what Dolan did to him. Dolan said, "I'm going to leave this in your hand." And now he's saying, okay, you want your dudes? Okay. Because you know what? Tom is on the hot seat. All right, I'm going to give you your dudes. Better produce, though. And better work with the program we're giving you. And what's that program? His first draft, 2020, in the spring of 2020. Let's go back in history so we understand where we're at. He wanted to get a stretch four. He was saying Julius Randle had just finished his first season, and he was already telling the media, he had leaked it. He wanted a stretch four. How did I know he leaked it? Ian Begley reported it. When Ian Begley's reporting something, he's also leaking what they're giving him. You have to understand that. That's coming from Leon Rose. When Ian Begley is saying something, he's not speculating unless he say he's speculating. He'll usually say, this is what I've heard from Knicks organization because this is what they want you to know. And if you know, Ian don't give you a whole lot. But he's giving you what they want you to know. He's one of the people they leak to. Then we know Adrian Wojnarowski got the in with every NBA team, and so does Shams. So those three dudes, when they report something, it's the real fact deal. Those three. Everybody else is speculative at best. Sometimes straight BS. Okay? So you can't really count that stuff. You got to count from them three dudes. So when Ian Begley reported 2 years ago in the spring, they were looking for a stretch four. That was saying we're looking to trade Julius Randle. Then Leon Rose had targeted and drafted Obi Toppin. Targeted and drafted him. That's who he wanted. He was rejoicing in the green room that night, if you recall. Because he was trying to get Obi Toppin. He wanted Obi Toppin. Why? Because that was the future stretch four. Okay? So then we know Randle worked with Tibbs and became All-NBA, All-Star, got an extension, $100 million extension. $100 million extension. But if you remember, he was eligible for a $200 million extension. He got about half what he could have got according to the rules of the league. And everybody, including myself, said that was a discount based on how he performed. It was a big discount. But as it turns out, it was a smart Leon move. He did not overpay. That contract can be moved. Let me tell you why. Again, the salary cap is $122 million. Generally, your superstars take 30% of your salary cap. When you're talking about a Paul George or Kawhi Leonard or LeBron James or Giannis Antetokounmpo, when you're talking about those type of players that are franchise altering players. They're generally 30% to 40% even of the cap. So you're paying them somewhere between 35 and 40 million a year. Those are your superstars. Julius Randle's being paid 25. He's not a superstar. He's below that level. And those guys he represents about 20% of the cap. And they're getting ready to raise the cap. So they're going to be even less than 20% of the cap. Those contracts are tradable because they don't represent large chunks of the cap. Julius's contract and Julius's salary is a range of a high-level second or third option. A Chris Middleton. A high-level second or third option. Okay, that's what he is. That's his contract. So it could be moved. And he's the most difficult. Everybody else can be moved extremely easily because that's how Leon structured this thing. Because what he did after he drafted Obi, he drafted in that same draft Emmanuel Quickley. And that was, from what I read, from what I understand, that was a Worldwide West Tom Thibodeau push for Emmanuel Quickley. Okay, he got him. And it quickly, what do you think of him as a point guard, a shooting guard, a starter, or a bench player? He's a solid NBA rotation piece. Okay, period. End of story. He's a solid NBA rotation piece. He can be extremely good or whatever, but his floor is a solid NBA rotation piece. Obi's a starter at the 4. Okay, that was his first draft. His second draft, he did all kind of moves, but at the end of the day, we ended up with Quentin Grimes, a starter. Joku Bidas, a quality draft and stash cat in Europe. Deuce, who I feel is a starter. And Jericho Sims at 58, a revelation at 58 on a 2-way deal. A solid backup 5. Can we say that? A solid backup 5. Some of y'all may think a Deuce is a solid backup point. I don't care. But I'm telling you, my point is, we got a good draft last year. So now that's 2 drafts. And to me, for Leon, that's 2 for 2. That's 2 for 2 on the draft. Then he went and he signed vets beginning of last year for Thibodeau. Some which Thibodeau was with, some what he wasn't. He wasn't with the Kemba signing, but he was with the Fournier signing. He wanted Nerlens Noel, and he actually did probably want to keep Reggie Bullock. But Leon did not want to guarantee 3 years of Reggie Bullock. He guaranteed 2. Why do you think he's doing the short-term deals? For, again, one of the hallmarks of a very good front office is to maintain flexibility. And again, let me just tell you what that means. Flexibility means the ability to go to any direction you need to go to get the best deal you need to get. So in the Knicks case, they can get rid of all them contracts and play the young kids if they want to. They can keep them and add a superstar if a superstar wants to come if they want to. And they maintain enough flexibility so if they need to pay a superstar 35, 40 million, they can move contracts and get that done. They got enough young players and draft picks to satisfy a team that wants to get some compensation for that. Or they can continue to build with the youth and move all the veterans and develop the youth. That's flexibility, y'all. Okay? The Lakers don't got that. They're paying $47 million to Westbrook. They're paying $40 million to LeBron. They're paying $40 million to Anthony Davis. They don't got no flexibility. Brooklyn don't got no flexibility. They got 3 dudes in Durant and Ben Simmons and then Kyrie Irving that between the 3 of them, they probably represent almost $100 million of their cap. So they got to win with them, and there are a bunch of guys that they can pay the minimums to or rookie deals. And if one of them gets hurt, as you've seen, they done. Okay, that's the risk you take. Your name is out there as a contender, but you better hope everybody stays healthy. Now, Golden State Warriors are also in that position, but they got Stephen Curry, who's in tremendous shape all the time. So was Klay Thompson before he hurt his knee. But then he just come back and you can see he's probably a training camp away from being his old self. Draymond Green, who's always in tremendous shape. Then they drafted well. When they did lose those guys, when they did lose Klay to injury, they went and they drafted well because they weren't tanking, but they couldn't do what they normally do. They were trying to win, but they end up with Moody, Kuminga, Poole, front office competency on rookie deals, ready to step up. Then they went and they got D'Angelo Russell, who they traded to Brooklyn. Then they turned that into Wiggins, who's been a revelation. But they're way over the cap. They're way in luxury tax territory. They're going to pay a lot of money. Guess what? They're on the verge of winning the ring if they beat the Celtics tonight. They're on the verge of winning the ring. I picked the Celtics in 6. Obviously, that's not going to happen because now it's 3-2 in favor of Golden State. But the point is, they're in the finals. So you go into the finals continually, you're a threat to. That's the whole point. You'll pay the money because you're going to get the money back. And advertising revenue, you're going to get the money back. You're going to get it back. Okay, so that's why they don't mind. But that's the epitome. That's the standard. That's the highest level. They didn't start there. Mark Jackson built that team by being involved with the draft with those cats. But that's how they ended up here. See? So the Knicks now, we wanted to find out what's their direction. Well, based on the last 2 drafts, we kind of see the direction. All right. They went and again, they got 3 players last draft that's here on the team, 1 in Europe. Draft before that, they got 2 players that's here, right? So that's a total of 5 players. And I think we can safely say Obi Toppin, Emmanuel Quickley, Quentin Grimes are in the rotation. And now Deuce and Jericho are about to step up into the rotation. So of them 5 players, when you go to this coming season, you're going to have 5 in the rotation. Okay, they're all 5 going to be in the rotation. And some people are looking at the draft and thinking, well, this guy can play next to RJ and this guy can play next to... Look, man, these are rookies you're looking at. None of them going to play. Unless you go get an Ivy. And I'm going to tell you what, he's not starting. He probably get in the rotation. And that's a big deal for a rookie under Tom Thibodeau. Like IQ did. But, don't look at these guys as slotted in maybe 2-3 years from now, but not now. And please stop looking at people that don't play defense. You saw Obi Toppin get 8 minutes a game, 8 to 12 minutes his rookie year because of his defense. Did you see that? Come on. Top 8 pick. Tom ain't scared to tell you, I'm going to sit you because you ain't playing. Y'all looking at these cats that are weak on defense and think they can kind of learn it? No. If they kind of learn it, let me tell you something real. It'll be in the G League. It'll be in the G League. That's how they roll here in New York now. You remember Tom said, they got to earn it. And what he means by that is if I don't like you, you ain't playing. I don't care where you was drafted. And he just is notorious for mistreating rookies. Now, you could say positive and negative about that. That's your business. But I'm just telling you what it is. That's what it is. He ain't going nowhere, at least for the first 6 months of the season. The first 50% of the season, Thibodeau's going to be your coach. By the time you get to the All-Star break, they'll make an evaluation and decide, whether he's gone or not. They have exercised his option for his full 5 years. So they'll have to pay him. This will be his 3rd season. They still got to pay him, but that ain't no problem either. James Dolan will pay. But he may be gone at the All-Star break, and I have to believe that he has decided to play ball with the front office on a reel for them to exercise. Because that was on Leon Rose to decide to do that. So he exercised his 5 years. Okay. And here we're talking, even in spite of him hating rookies, we talked about 5 players that he drafted that are all going to be in the rotation this coming season. So as much as I don't like how he's handled, particularly Deuce McBride, I don't like how he's handled, particularly Obi Toppin before this season. I can't deny that what I just told you the case. Obi's going to be in the rotation. IQ's going to be in the rotation. That's guaranteed. They're going to be in the rotation. Okay. That's not even including, Mitch Rob, who will be starting if he's here, and RJ, who will be starting if he's here. Young players, right? That's not including, and I believe they're going to trade Evan Fournier. I agree with Mark Berman on this. They're going to trade Evan Fournier, and Quentin Grimes is going to be your starting 2 guard. And ain't no 2 guard in this draft taking his spot. Not in the beginning. He's going to start. Okay? Y'all need to get... That's what's going to happen. This is Tibbs we're talking about. Okay, so those guys have been drafted in the last couple of years, and they're in the rotation. Then I believe Berman has also quoted that he intends to expand Deuce's role. Deuce is going to start in the summer league with Jericho Sims and maybe even Quentin Grimes. They're going to probably dominate the summer league if they stay healthy, hopefully. And, from there, they'll be ready for the training camp. So I can't completely deny that Tibbs has played some rookies. We don't like the minutes he's put them in. He hasn't given them the minutes and the freedom that other teams do with their rookies. But here we're talking about now in Tibbs' third season, in the third season of Leon Rose, we're talking about 5 rookies or guys that were drafted by the Knicks going to be in the rotation. Okay, so that's pretty daggone good. So now, based on that, we can surmise that the Knicks are going young. Okay, as I said, I expect Evan Fournier to be traded. I'm expecting Julius Randle to be traded. But I'm looking, and that brings me to the point of today's video. Now, a lot of people look at mocks, and I do also. I look at mocks to see what people are saying in terms of who's going to be drafted where. But in a conservative 75% chance, most of them have no idea what they're talking about. Especially when you read the reasoning that they write behind the draft picks that they think the teams are going to draft. It shows that they have really no clue about the team they're talking about on an intimate basis. And sometimes don't even have a clue about what they're talking about in basketball. It's just a shame. But some cats just get paid because of who they know in the media. It just is what it is, y'all. Okay? They got money behind them. And that's why they get paid. Not that they're good at what they do. I'm just telling you how it is. Okay? But that being the case, to me, this time of the year, you could really see who a team's interested in by who they're bringing in for workouts. Okay, that's really where you get a nice sense of what a team is looking at. Now, this draft is in general terms, heavy on the 4 and heavy on the wing. Not heavy on the point guard. No, not really. But heavy on the 4, heavy on the wing. Not heavy at the 5. Not really. I mean, they got 2 really good prospects. I mean, Chet Holmgren, Jalen Duren, and then there's Mark Williams. So Chet Holmgren is top 4, obviously. Then Duren and Williams. And I'm not sure where Duren and Williams will end up. Nor do I care. But it's not real. My point is it's not real heavy on 5s. Okay? And it's not real heavy in point guard. You're talking about your tie. Some people look at Dyson Daniels as a point guard. He's not really a point guard. He's more really of a wing. He can't shoot that well, but he's a tremendous defender. You might have him defending the other team's point guard, but he's not that dude. But he's really a good playmaker, as well. But he's going to be challenged shooting wise in the NBA. The NBA is the league, y'all. So he's got, shooting in drills is cool, but in the game shows you, and he shot 25% from 3 last year. Brother brought up the other day how he shot 40% over the last 10 games. Cool. But he's not going to do that in the league. The 40%, okay, that's really nice. But he's not going to do that in the league. He might eventually, but his rookie year, it's going to be tough. Okay? It's going to be tough. He's going to get on the floor because of his defense. But they're going to dare him to shoot. Okay, the league is too fast, too athletic, for a guy that come 26% in the G League. Okay, so that is what it is, y'all. But he's not really a point guard to me. He's more of a wing type player. And so now I'm looking at the players that the Knicks have worked out. Okay, now they worked out Ty Washington, but I'm gonna guarantee you they're not picking him. But I want to just show you the players that they worked out, and by where these players have also worked out aside from for the Knicks tells you an idea of where they're getting drafted. And let's start with Dyson Daniels. Dyson Daniels have worked out so far for Detroit, Indianapolis, the Pelicans, the Knicks, the Portland Trailblazers, the Kings, the Spurs, and the Wizards. He's worked out for a lot of teams, which is an indication of a couple of things. First of all, when you take the Knicks out the picture, all the other teams are top 10 in the draft. Okay. All of them. Okay. So Indiana draft 6, the Pelicans draft 8, Portland draft 7, the Kings draft 4, the Spurs draft 9, the Wizards draft 10. So the likelihood is he will be drafted in the top 10. See, you see what I'm saying? So out of the teams that only the Knicks are not in the top 10. He's been worked out by teams in the top 10. Okay? We know he's also been interviewed by probably all of those teams as well. So he's going to probably go between 5 and 10 in this draft. Right? And it makes sense. Also, you have to consider, what does the team need? And this is where I'm looking at some of these mocks. I'm like, it looks like these guys are making stuff up as they go along. For example, why would Detroit draft a point guard? Because why do I say that? Well, Cade Cunningham is the point guard. Killian Hayes, who they drafted in the lottery the year before, is their backup point guard. Unless they've given up on Killian Hayes, and I don't think they have yet, why would they draft a point guard? You see what I'm saying? So that makes no sense. Now, the Pelicans, who were in the playoffs, who are probably in need of a good defensive guy at the point of attack, that makes sense. You see what I'm saying? That makes sense. I can see him going there. Washington, who traded a point guard, right? Dinwiddie. And they have a 2 guard, which is, Hall of Fame level 2 guard, Bradley Beal, right? So they might be, and they got a point guard now, Ish Smith, who's really a journeyman, but Ish Smith can prove to be a good mentor for a young point guard. So you got to figure, okay, they're in the game for maybe a Dyson Daniels, a Ty Washington, a Johnny Davis, if they want to put him there. They're in that game because they're set up for that. They're not a rebuilding team. Because look what they got. They got Bradley Beal. They got a whole host of 4s. Rui Hachimura, Kristaps Porzingis. They got other guys at the 4. They got Kyle Kuzma. They got a bunch of 4s. And then they drafted Denny Avdija to run the 3 spot. They might want another wing, which is again why they might look at a Johnny Davis or Dyson Daniels. Okay, so you got to look at the team needs and see, okay, what are they doing? Washington's in a funny situation. They don't have enough youth to make a rebuild right now, and they got to commit to Beal. They got to make him feel good about them trying to make a run. I don't think Beal is going anywhere. I think he just is one of those cats that's loyal to where he was drafted, and he likes it in the Washington, D.C. area. So he's probably going to stay there. So they want to try to do what they can to build around him to get something going. They tried with John Wall. Actually, John Wall was there before him, but that didn't work out. Then they brought in Dinwiddie. They've been trying, but it hasn't been working out. So now they got the guys I named, and I wouldn't be surprised if they drafted. So Daniels, he'll probably be gone by the time the Knicks get him. I'm not high on him anyway in terms of for the Knicks a fit. I'm not saying he's a bad player. I don't want the Knicks to get him. And the reason I don't want the Knicks to get him is because I am very high on Emmanuel Quickley and Deuce McBride. And I don't want nobody getting in there to complicate that. Period. I want these kids to play. Both of them. Okay? Whatever. I'd rather Deuce start, but if they started Emmanuel Quickley and brought Deuce behind him, I have no problem. But I want him to play. All right? So I'm not trying to get Daniels. And so I'm not, that's it. So, but they brought him in. Again, I don't think he's going to be there for the Knicks. And again, I'm glad because I'm thinking I don't want him anyway. But that's where I'm looking. Next guy, Malachi Branham. So Malachi has really only worked out for 4 teams. Check this out. So he worked out for Atlanta, who's picking 16th. He worked out for the Wizards, who's picking 10th. He worked out for the Cavs, who's picking 14th. And he worked out for the Knicks, who's picking 11th. It looks to me like Malachi Branham is the numbers between 10 and 16. So he's a mid to late first round or mid to late lottery guy. Okay. He's a possible trade down guy for the Knicks. I think 11 or 10 is too high for him. Defensively, he needs a lot of work. I really don't think the Knicks are going to draft him because of his defensive deficiencies. And I know what you're going to say, but he's got great shot. He's very efficient. He's a great young man. All true. He's an NBA player. But we're talking about the Knicks. We're talking about Tom Thibodeau. We're talking about defense. If you cannot play defense, even if you're willing to learn it, You will not play under Tom Thibodeau. It will take you 2 seasons before you see the court. Deuce McBride is an elite defender. Look at what happened. Now, his second year, like I said, I believe he's really going to be in the rotation this year. But this is a guy that came into the NBA with a calling card of defense. I'm just using that as an example. Okay? Don't think a guy like Branham's going to come in here, and that's not going to happen. Be real, y'all. That's not going to happen. Okay? So he's looking like a 14, 16 guy. Now, another hallmark of teams that are really well run is they will work out guys they're interested in drafting. Why do that sound crazy? You say, well, of course they will, right? The Knicks once drafted a dude from France that they never worked out. And he sucked. They just never worked him out. They never thoroughly vetted him. They used to do that. So I think all the teams in the NBA have caught up to, okay, we got to work these guys out. We got to take a thorough look at them. We're going to draft because there's people's jobs, millions of dollars are on the line. This is big business, y'all. So they got to look at this very closely. So 4 teams have worked him out. Now, there's exceptions to this. A guy like a Jaden Ivey, he hasn't worked out for anybody that's been reported. But they all went to his pro day, right? They went to his pro day. And so they got to decide based on that. He hasn't been in for a personal workout. At least it's not been reported. And that's another thing I wanted to bring up. This weekend, we're going to probably hear about, whoever hasn't been reported yet to have worked out for teams, to have worked out for them, right? So we're going to see more important players come forward in this last couple of days before the draft. And these guys will be guys that they're really looking at, guys that they want, guys that are big enough so that they have a pro day and all the scouts and all the teams are represented, like your Ivies, like your Sohan, like your Matherins, guys that have been, had pro days and had big time general managers, presidents of basketball operations present. You'll hear about them coming in for private workouts, probably this week, probably this weekend, and you'll get a better sense of who these teams are looking at. But I'm just taking a snapshot based on today, which is Wednesday, the 15th of June. So, this might change, but based on what we're seeing today is what I'm making this video on. So Branham is unlikely to be drafted by the Knicks, in my opinion. I think he's going to go later. He'll be in Atlanta or a Cavs pick as a wing, and he'll come off their bench, or he might even be in the G League, but he needs development. Then Tari Eason. Tari Eason is all over the place. He has worked out for Atlanta, Charlotte, Chicago, Cavs, and Houston. Now, all of those teams are between 13 and 17. Okay? He has worked out for Memphis, Minnesota. That's 22 to 19. He has worked out for OKC at 12. He has worked out for the Wizards at 10. He has worked out for the Spurs, who draft 9th, and I don't think he's going that high, but they also draft 20th and 25th. And he has worked out for Portland, which to me represents a team that wants to trade up, that wants him. They're not going to draft him to keep him. Okay. And of course, the Knicks at 11. So he's all over the place. I think Tari Eason is another trade down possibility. Okay. I think 11 is a little too high based on what's going on. He's worked out for a lot of teams. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. He's worked out for 12 teams. Some in the lottery, some way out of the lottery, all in the first round. So Tari Eason is obviously a first round talent. I'm very high on Tari Eason. What I don't know about him is his personality and his attitude. I don't know. You got to be mentally strong to play for Tom Thibodeau because of how he's going to ignore you in your rookie year. Because of how he's going to treat you like you did something wrong. Remember, Obi Toppin was walking off the court one night in Brooklyn and he's yelling at Tom, what did I do wrong? Because he was balling and he was taken out and Tom didn't even look at him. See, you got to be mentally strong to play for Tom Thibodeau, and you got to be mentally strong to play in New York. I don't know anything about Tari Eason as far as that. What I do know is the boy is a baller. He's a dog, period. And if he can be allowed to play, he will turn MSG out. I'm very confident in that with Tari Eason. Okay, very confident. I know he plays both sides of the basketball. He has hands as large, literally, as the claw. Kawhi Leonard. His hands are huge. Okay, and he uses that length to his advantage defensively very, very well. And he finishes strong. And he can shoot the rock 36% from three. Talent is there. No doubt he's an NBA player. Where he goes, I don't know. I see him as a trade down possibility. So let's talk about what we got so far. Well, let me not go into that yet. Let's go to the next guy. Ochai Agbaji. He has worked out for 6 teams. Atlanta, who drafts 16. Charlotte at 13 and 15. The Bulls at 18. The Cavs at 14. The Pels at 8 and the Knicks at 11. He's going after 11. He's going between 13 and 18. He's a trade down guy. The Knicks will not pick him at 11. See, some of y'all got to buckle your seatbelt. Some of y'all think it's as simple as, oh, we like this guy, pick him at 11. No, that's not how the Knicks do it. It's not how Leon has done it over the last 2 drafts. If he likes a guy, he's going to pick somebody else, trade down, trade around, and end up with his guy. So, that's Agbaji. I love Agbaji. Tremendous defender. Tremendous defensive player. Spot-up shooter. Elite spot-up shooter. Shot 41% from 3. Hard worker. Stayed 4 years at Kansas and worked his tail off and has gotten better every year. Okay, so as far as the mental capacity, he's 22. He's mature enough. As far as the mental capacity, the work effort, the work ethic, I like him. I like him a lot. He, to me, Agbaji, Ivy, Mathurin, and Sohan are the 4 players in this draft that have, to me, a realistic chance of being in the rotation for Tom Thibodeau as rookies. The rest of these cats, no. Okay, I'm just telling you, no. Okay, and so Eason, I don't know. I'm going to say no because I think the talent is there, but just knowing talent. Eason's going to play something in the G League. And if he just really just surprises me mentally, and because his talent is, I love Eason. So his talent is unbelievable. If he busts out, in training camp in the G League, and if we did draft him and he crushes the summer league, he might be able to get in the rotation. He might. I would love him if they trade Julius Randle behind Obi and to play both the 3 and the 4 behind Obi and RJ. That would be excellent if he can play, but we'll see. But Agbaji's another trade down dude. I'm not going over all the other guys they've worked out that are second league dude, second round or free agent signing type guys. We're not wasting time on that. I'm just trying to look at guys that will be drafted in the first round. The last guy is Beauchamp, Marjon Beauchamp. He has worked out for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 teams. 11 teams. The highest one was the Pels at 8. That's a trade down dude. Wiz at 10, they ain't taking him at 10. And then the Knicks at 11, they ain't taking him at 11. That's not going to happen. This guy's a trade down dude. Most of the players he's worked out. Look at this. Charlotte, 13 and 15. They picked 13th and 15th. Atlanta at 16. The Cavs at 14. Houston at 17. Memphis at 22 and 29. Minnesota at 19. Spurs at 20 and 25. He's going in one of them. See? And so he's another trade down. So look, out of the major dudes they have drafted, they have worked out. Aside from Ty, because like I said, we're not drafting the point guard. But Daniels, he's going in the top 10. Branham, trade down. Eason, trade down. Ochai Agbaji, trade down. Beauchamp, trade down. They're looking more at this point at guys they're going to trade down for. So what does that mean? To me, it means they kind of know. Everybody know Ivy could play. You go to his pro day, that should be enough, right? And he may decide, I'm not going to any teams because I want y'all to just fight over me now. Some players do that because he got that kind of juice because everybody know he's top 4 in the draft. So him, Mathurin, Sohan, if you could trade up and get one of them, I disagree with Berman on this. We're not trading up for Dyson Daniels. That's not going to happen. Okay. We got Dyson Daniels type talent in the guys I've already mentioned to you, plus Jalen Terry, from Arizona. I'd trade down for him. before I try to trade up for Dyson Daniels. So, because Jalen Terry is Dyson Daniels, he's just, 20 picks cheaper. And the Dons is to saving money. So, that's what I'm saying. So, or Jalen Williams, who we haven't worked out. But again, those guys are trade down later. Matter of fact, Jalen Terry only worked out for one team as far as I understand so far. So we got to wait till this weekend to see more news come out. Who else is being worked out and where. But so far, he's only worked out for one team that's been reported. So at this point, what it looks like is the Knicks will try to trade up for an Ivy or a Mathurin or a Sohan. They're working on that. I believe they're working on that. And I believe that trade up possibility involves not only the 11th pick, but veterans like Julius Randle, Evan Fournier, Alec Burks, and maybe a young player like a Cam Reddish. I'm thinking that's what they're working on. And maybe the Dallas 2023 pick. They're working on trying to move up between 4 and 7. That means between the Kings, the Detroit Pistons, the Indiana Pacers, and finally the Portland Trail Blazers. They're trying to move up in there, especially with the Kings and Portland. Those are the two big ones. But don't discount Indiana because it just came out this week that Miles Turner is on the trade block, and that makes sense. They got Isaiah Jackson that they drafted. They're trying to obviously rebuild, so they're going to be cleaning house. And so Miles Turner might be on the trade block. And if Mitch Robb walks, forget Duren and Mark Williams. If Mitch Robb walks, the Knicks are trying to get Miles Turner and Mo Bamba. They're trying to get one of them. If Mitch Robb walks, okay? And they should. So watch out for Indiana also as a possibility. The only thing is that I don't see happening as far as Indiana. I don't think they're trying to bring back veterans, see, because that's what they would get for Miles Turner from the Knicks. So I don't know what's going to happen there. But they would be interested in Cam Reddish. So let's see what happens. But especially Sacramento and Portland, they're trying to work real hard on them. And see what they can get. And if they can get something, they'll